function of a frame is to protect the work of art, and also aesthetically it has to be an adroit mediator between the illusion of the canvas and the environment in which it's sitting. Example here, this linen liner matches the background that the painting is hanging on. The black in the frame picks up a lot of the black in the canvas as well, and you have this wonderful stenciled pattern on the center points in the corners, which help to direct your eye to the canvas, the main event. So a good frame is one that's really not noticed. And here, with this antique Italian frame, is called a cassetta. We know that Picasso used antique frames very often in putting his work forward. And so in a frame like this, you have a wonderful combination of historical elements and aesthetic success. This technique here is called the sgraffito, where the paint is actually scratched through. The gold is put down first, the paint is put on. In some cases it's reversed, sometimes it's painted black, and sometimes the gold is painted on. So you have this wonderful crisp combination of formal design elements with the loosely painted painting. It makes for a great combination. Also, I noticed on the side of this frame there is a hanging device that is missing, and it indicates to me that this frame was once a vertical, and Picasso readapted it for use, or someone readapted it for use with this painting. This frame, which is a modern frame for the Braque, most likely put on in the 60s, is an interesting technique on it. It's water gilded. That means that water is used to apply the gold leaf. And when it's burnished with an agate stone, you can see where the overlapping of the leaf lines appear. And that's a sign of a frame that has really been treated in the highest degree of quality possible. It's interesting because what you've got in the painting is a picture frame as well, and a lot of passages that are divided by squares. And so aesthetically, the frame with these overlapping gold leaf lines, either consciously or unconsciously, helps sort of unify the painting and the frame together. The linen liner again matches the linen on the wall. And you have a husk pattern over here that is an Italian design with center points. And you see the carving starts at the center and moves its way out. So you have that subtle device to center the eye and focus on the main event being the painting. This Renoir has a Louis XV frame on it, which is different than some of the other ones that we've seen. It's a very high quality frame. It is carved in wood and gessoed and water gilded. And what makes it a Louis XV frame is the fact that you have no real straight lines on the outer edge of this. You have this sweeping line here, and you have a sweeping line here. And this is the hallmark of the Louis XV style. Again, the linen liner. We have this wonderful scrubbed finish, the décapé finish, where basically all you see is where the gold, the original gold was, is in the recesses, where it was protected from age and dirt and soiling. This frame has some wonderful detail. If you look here, the lamb's tongue is beautifully carved, not only in the wood, but the carving in the gesso is recut, so it's like engraving in 3 dimensions. And when they fit it to this painting, it was scrubbed down even more to remove the gold and make it less insistent with the painting. So what you really want to see first is the painting, and then the frame subtleties interacting with it, like it does in this case. The subtle pinks and the greens and the grays and the same tonalities are affected within the frame. This is a Felix Ziem painting, and what's interesting about this frame is that it's the Louis XIV style, but in fact it's a frame that's not Louis XIV in its construction, which would have been carved wood. This in fact is made from material called composition, or compo. All right, so this crack right here tells me that this frame is made from compo, not carved wood, and they crack when they run actually perpendicular to the design like that. Compo is a mixture of whiting and glue and resins, balsam of fir, and it's heated like bread dough and pressed into a mold. And then it's sliced out and applied to the surface of the frame. So this Compo frame is pretty much contemporary with the painting. If you'll notice some of the details here, this cross-hatching in the background is done with casting, and if it were an original Louis XIV frame, it would be cut in by hand, the little cross-hatching. This composition is possibly applied with a hide glue, and it is imitating much of the crosshatch punchwork that we saw in the earlier frames too. So it's good to compare the original and this. What's nice about this piece is that it is so expansive. It sweeps out, and it gives you that sense of perspective also that the painting has. The contrast between the water gilding, the high burnish, and the gray sort of dust that's settled here also works very well with the highlights of the painting, the lights and the darks. And Edward Weston once said that a good photograph should have 5 distinct colors or 5 distinct values from very dark to very light. And so a frame and the painting also should echo that same sentiment. So you have very dark here and very light here and very dark in the frame and very light in the frame. So they all worked aesthetically together. The liner on this frame has been regilded, and you can see the lap lines from the overgilding as well. But the gilding on the frame is all original and is a wonderful complement to the painting.